Former defensive back Jason McCourty on the NFL Network's Good Morning Football. What he thinks of the Browns this season coming up.
For the second straight year, we're talking about what their potential is. But we saw something about the Cleveland Browns last year that I think was special. This is a team that, Shregs, you emphasized it all season long when we started talking about Coach of the Year with Stefanski, because this is a team where their offensive line was beat up. It felt like guy after guy was going down with an injury and somebody else was going to have to step up. We watched the star of their team and Nick Chubb go down with a gruesome injury in Pittsburgh early on in the season. We watched Deshaun Watson get banged up and have to play through different injuries. Watch a rookie in DTR come in and have to win games. PJ Walker had to win games. And then eventually they signed Joe Flacco off of the couch. And this was a Cleveland Browns team that was playing on the road in Houston for a playoff game. Yes, they didn't win, but you learn something about your team when you have to go through that level of adversity. Now, this offseason, they go and they make a trade for Jerry Jeudy to be opposite Amari Cooper, a guy that he grew up watching and trying to emulate his game after. Now they have Elijah Moore in the slot. Nick Chubb hopefully can get back to where he was. But then Jerome Ford as a backup showed what he can do. So I look at this team in Cleveland, and Jim Schwartz comes in as a defensive coordinator last year. Myles Garrett becomes Defensive Player of the Year. They have so many guys on that side of the ball. They go and get a veteran like Jordan Hicks at that linebacker spot. To me, the Cleveland Browns could surprise a few people and potentially say, hey, we have a seat at the table and maybe we can do some things and we can get healthy and get on the right track.
Fred Greetham, senior analyst for the Orange and Brown Report. Fred, I think people are overlooking, the Browns are getting back both tackles, actually their top three tackles healthy, potentially Nick Chubb at some point, Deshaun Watson. It was a team that won 11 games and did it really beat up.
Going into last season, we talked about it here and about any show I was on. The Browns are under the radar. And a lot of it last year, I think, because of Deshaun Watson, the national perception, and even going in this season because of the injuries and what's happened to him, he's a big unknown. But they are under the radar, and it starts with the AFC North. I mean, when you look in the division, we've said this, it's a gauntlet. You got to play more than a third of your schedule against three perennial playoff teams in the Ravens, the Steelers, and the Bengals. And they've all improved their team. Steelers got two legitimate quarterbacks now, and they all have defenses, and the Bengals are healthy. And you look at that first. But you look at the Browns, they had the number one ranked defense. I mean, on paper, they didn't look like that in the playoffs. Their statistics kind of started to fall off at the end. I'm more interested in them lowering the points given up a game on defense. But a key fact is they kept 9 of the 11 starters. And the two starters on defense, Sion Takitaki and Anthony Walker, I think they wanted to try to upgrade at linebacker. And I feel they did with Jordan Hicks. I don't know about Devin Bush. I think he's more of a depth guy, hoping to catch lightning in a bottle. He hasn't done much since his big injury. But right now, Hicks is the leader type that Walker, but he's won over 100 tackles the last 5 years. And I think it's an upgrade there. I think Quentin Jefferson's an under-the-radar move. He is an upgrade over Jordan Elliott. So they need a little more at linebacker. I would expect them to bring in a veteran linebacker to compete, to start. But again, a lot of times Jim Schwartz uses two linebackers, and you got J.O.K. and Jordan Hicks with Bush's depth and Tony Fields and Diabate. So I see him filling holes in the draft and free agency there. But I think the defense comes back intact. They got the most important players back in Zadarius Smith and Shelby Harris. And you just saw Rodney McLeod come back. So I like what they've done. Offense, we can say this all day. It's going to come down to number 4. He has to be on the field, and he has to play well. I keep defending that if he would have stayed on the field, he would have put up good numbers last year. But when you start, you stop, you start, you stop, with injuries, that's that's kind of what you're going to get. So if Deshaun Watson can play the whole season, I think this all comes together and they'll be in good shape.
Yeah, and again, I don't think people realize, especially in football, you got 11 guys who have to be on the same page. And if you're not out there, the more consistency, you'll get more consistency the more snaps you can get in a row with Deshaun Watson. I firmly believe that, and I couldn't agree with you more.